Hey guys, beginner project 2. This is going to be a 2-pocket card wallet. I have my project piece, and I did cut a 12 by 12 piece of leather. It's out of the same leather that we used for the last project, but I have a whole side of it, so it's probably what we're going to use for a lot of these. I have my pattern cut out. I cut out a scallop pocket, and then I just left one straight. I'm going to do one each way, and just to show you the differences. Ignore this part here. If you're tooling, if you're getting advanced and you want to do some, a basket stamp or something, cut this window out, line this back up on your piece, and trace that out, and that will be your tooling area. You don't want to tool in the middle because it just gets messed up when you fold it, but you'll have a tooling area, and then just flip it over and cut it out, or draw it out on the other side. We may do one tooled at some point, but not today. So I'm going to get you down here on the bench, and we're going to cut these out. Alright, so there's my piece. This is the skin side, I guess they'd call it. This is the top side. That's the ugly underside. This has got, some of it got pasted, some of it didn't. It's okay. It's not that big a deal, because it's nicely finished regardless, so that's not going to play anything. So the first thing I want to do is, now I could bring this right into the corner if I wanted to, but I don't like doing that. I'd rather get rid of a little. I'm using my fabric pen here again so you guys can see it. If you have a hard time holding your pattern in place, go ahead and put a weight on it. Let me get you over here where you can see better. There we go. Go ahead and stick a weight on it. On bigger patterns, I do that just so it doesn't move on me. Alright. So that was easy, but like I said, I'm going to make 2 of them, and I'm going to leave just a little gap between them. And there we go. I'm done with my pattern. Now I just take a paper clip, put them together so that I don't lose them. I got a 4-foot long straight edge there. I don't have my ruler though. Trusty ruler. And we're gonna cut this one out, and then we'll cut the other one out. When I place my ruler, I place it so that if my knife wanders, I'm not going to get into my project parts. So these are, my ruler is always on the piece that I'm going to be using. I snapped my blade off already. There's that one. Now this is still got room. I could get several pockets out of here yet. I could almost 3 3/4 wide, so I can still do quite a bit with this piece of leather. So we hang on to it, of course. I'm not going to be wasteful. So there's one pocket. That's all the waste that I have from cutting out 2 of these. Now all I need to do is I need to edge and burnish the tops of these, because you can't do that once it's together. It's very difficult to do. So I'm going to edge it and burnish it, the tops of all 4 pockets, and then we'll start putting it together. So let me get you on the other camera and over my other bench there. I can't hammer on this, it's just a plastic table. Works good for cutting. That's about it. This is a money clip wallet. If anybody wants to see one of those, we can sure make one. You have to buy a clip thing. It's got a pocket on each side to put cards in. Pretty slick little unit. This one's for a customer. Get a little stamping on there. Set that off to the side. Alright. I'm just going to set my 2 pieces together. Just like that there. And there we go. That is all the edging we have to do for the time being. We'll give these a real quick burnish. Alright, gonna let that dry just a little bit. While that's drying, I'm gonna go ahead and stamp my maker's mark on them, because I will turn around and sell these. So I'll be back in a few minutes when these are dry, and I'll sand. Alright, so I've got my maker's mark, made in USA. All my stamps that I have, my maker's mark, my made in USA, and I've got several other ones that I have. They all come from Leather Stamp Maker. I'll leave a link to their website down below in case you're interested. I'm just going with 320 here. You can certainly get away with some 400 grit, 600 grit, whatever you want. You just take that last little bit sanding in one direction. Seems to do a little nicer job. And there we go. A little more water. I know it's weird to use my bench, but different piece of canvas. Looks pretty acceptable to me. And there again, acceptable is what you feel is acceptable, not what anybody else thinks. It's your project. Well, there we go. That's what all my edges look like. pretty nice if you ask me. I am going to let that water dry a little bit, 10 minutes or so, just so that I can get back after it. So I decided on the pockets and the bodies. I was going to paste down the back just because of the unevenness. You'll be able to see it in this one when it's done. There's a camera. When it's done, you'll still be able to see through the middle there. So I want to paste down the backs just to make everything look cohesive. So I'm going to use Tokenol to do that, and this is one of the places where Tokenol happens to shine quite nicely. Just apply it, and you don't even need a ton of it. And this is my bone folder burnisher tool. Yet another thing it can do. So really there isn't much to it. I apply it, I rub it down pretty good, get the excess off my tool here. You can use, if you have a glass burnisher, that's what's recommended, but I don't have one. So along with burnishing your edges, you can paste down the back. So there's what they look like after it's pasted. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of this done. Thought I'd show you that right quick. Everything's all pasted down now, and I'm going to let it sit overnight just because it's still, the Tokenol leaves it a little sticky. Not that it's terrible, I can still work with it, but it's getting to be 6 o'clock. It's dinner time, and I'm going to go have some dinner with my wife. Alrighty, got my pieces here. They're all dry. It's next day. I didn't get out here this morning. It's afternoon. It's actually like 6 o'clock. I'm a little slow. So I want to line up my corners, and I want to slide them over just a little bit. But I want to line up my bottom. And I'll show you here in a second so that I can mark how far up I can glue. Now sometimes I'll take a ruler or something just to kind of be able to even that up nice. And I'll put a mark. So I've lined it up at the bottom here. And I put a mark up here so I know how far up I can glue, because we don't want to put glue in this area, just where we need to glue it. So I'm going to go ahead and if you hold it back just a little bit, it gives you a little bit of room to make your mark. So you can keep it on the edge. It'll never be seen because the pocket's going to cover it. Now I want to make sure that the pockets go back where I'm measuring. So I'm going to take and put a little X down here and an X here. And that is, it's under the stitch line, so it'll never be seen. I have my marks on the side, and those are what I'm going to use. I'll glue from here around here, then I'll just glue the pocket. I have to do the same over here. And when I make my mark, I'm just a little bit below that edge. That way it's not seen anywhere. after the project is completed. I don't need to mark the other side. I'm not going to mark the pocket because I'll obviously know where those go. I have my glue, and this is just regular weldwood contact cement. It's nothing fancy. Oof. That was really thick on that brush. Alright. And just like the single pocket wallet, I just want to go up in those corners a little bit. Now a lot of times I'll just do one pocket at a time. I'm going to go ahead and do both of them. Usually by the time I'm done with the second one, the first one's about ready to go on. So I start in the corner. I want to line up my corner first and one side. And I'm not pressing it together real firm yet, just a little bit, just so that it sticks. And then you line up the other corner and the other side. Because remember, leather's got a little bit of stretch to it. As long as your corners are lined up nice, then your bottom should line up nice. That's looking pretty good. That's looking good. Let me jump right over and grab the other one. And I do the corner and the sides first, because if there's a little fudge that needs to be done, that's where it's going to need to be. And we'll have to sand, because nothing's ever perfect. But the pattern allows you enough room to sand. If you want to cut your pockets a little oversized, a little long on one side, then you just got to worry about the bottom. Now, the downside to that fabric marker is that sometimes you'll get a little spot where it rubs off on a finger or something. But it comes off, and that's what I like about them. So this is to the point now where I need to go ahead and cut my corners. Just like on the other project, not doing anything different for the corners. Got my washer. I find that when I screw up, it's usually when I'm rotating the piece. So I try to keep that to a minimum. Neighbor's starting up his demo car. Demo's not until July. Alright. There's all my corners. Don't need to cut anything anymore. Now, they're not perfect, so we need to do a little sanding. One of the things that I've done, and I find is really helpful on stuff like this, is I just have some sandpaper. This is a piece of Kydex. You can use a tongue depressor. Matter of fact, I know a lot of people that do. And then you can just make yourself a sanding stick. Especially when you're going on a long straight edge like that. And you'll be able to tell on your edge. See, it's not hitting here, just on the other side. So I'll keep going on it, periodically rotating it. Because you never seem to have the pressure right all the time. So, to correct for that, if you rotate it, it helps a little. Or maybe you don't have your angle quite right. And now I can see here that I'm sanding on both sides. So, I just keep going that way. So now I want to start on my corners and just get them rounded, because I always wind up with a little bit of a A little jagged the way I do it, but granted, one of those corner punches might work better, but you know, I never liked them. One thing I've found in my years is you're never going to get perfect. It's not a perfect craft. You're dealing with something imperfect. When I go to bevel along this side, I need to take up this space between there so that it doesn't, my beveler doesn't dig in. So I just take another piece, just a scrap piece of leather, stick it in there, line it up, and I can go right across, because that just adds that pressure there. Go over to the other side now. Flip it over and do the inside parts. I always like to start from the top of the pocket. Seems to work a little bit better. So there we go, we're all sanded, edge beveled. Before I go much farther though, well actually I'm in good shape right now. So I'm going to go ahead. This one, I like to punch it from the inside out. Doesn't make that much difference on the back side, but you can do it both ways. You just need to mark where you're going to leave your one binding stitch drop off. And there's a lot of ways to do that. Some people will just poke a hole through it with the awl because it's not going to really come into working out real well for your angle on your stitch, because you're just going through it and coming right back. So it's not going to make any difference there. I'm going to line my divider up on the pocket, just butt it right up against it. And I'm just going to kind of roll around. And I can leave a mark where my I need that to come through. Coming around corners is always a little more difficult. pen is leaking. So there's that. Nothing on the inside. On the outside I've got everything marked. Grab our punching pad. And I can either see where my mark is and punch that hole with an awl. It doesn't really matter. But make sure you're off that edge. And now I've just got my 4 holes punched. If you want to later take your single hole, your single tine punch, and punch through it so it's a diamond hole like everything else, it's fine. Put your scrap in there. And you can just smack her with the single tine. And then the hole will match. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to work my way around, and hopefully when my fudge comes I'll end up in a corner. On these wallets I find that it seems to work out just a little bit better if you got your fudge right in the corner. And 9 times out of 10 you're going to have to adjust a little bit. So we'll show you how to do that, how I do that anyway. We're just following the stitch line, watching our tines. Need to mark a couple holes. And I'm going to go through these with my single tine. And I'm trying to just keep it straight. You can rotate it with the single tine, so I can just keep it with following the corner around. If you want to see using a stitching awl, let me know in the comments. And we'll do one of these projects by hand, just marking my holes and punching them with a stitching awl. All done making stitch holes. Now it's time to sew it up. Alright, as you can see, I'm going with red thread again. Got one side done. I didn't want to bore you with all of it. So let's get to it. As you progress in the craft, you'll find a few small shortcuts. That just save you a little bit of time. And you probably don't need to see me even do this. If you'd like a full stitching video, drop a comment down below. Stitching and whatever else you want to see. If there's a certain project that you'd like to see, let me know there too. I have plenty of patterns that are relatively easy for a beginner, and they can all be done by hand because I haven't had a machine except for the last couple of years, so I've done most of my patterns by hand. Even the Tootsie Tote. So we just did our binding stitch on the top here. Oop, where am I? There we go. Did my binding stitch here. We're just going to keep going. Two back. Here's my half. And I can pull both of those a little bit. Snip them close. Remember, you don't need a big long end on there. Alrighty, there we go, all stitched up. Tomorrow, I have a commitment tonight that I need to get to. Tomorrow we will finish this up. Alright, so I got some water here in my little cup. We're just going to water burnish this one. The other one I use Tokonol on, and I'm going to show you the difference afterwards and kind of talk to you a little bit about that. But simply just some water on the edge. And these will need at least one sanding. I'll just work my way around. So that's our first burnish. And you can see it's pretty rough looking. It needs a little sanding in between. Burnishing process kind of hardens the edge a bit, and that's what we're looking for. Good durable edge. There's my sandpaper. This is just a well-worn piece of 220 grit. If nothing else, that first burnish just kind of shows you the places that are going to need work. Now it's always nice to let that dry as much as you can. For the sake of the video, I'm just going to go on through the steps. So everything's got a nice smooth feel to it. I will probably sand it one more time. With a... Hopefully you can see these pretty well. I tried zooming in, but nothing shows up worth a damn then. So this side, was Tokenol burnished. This side, I had to start that stuff up with us. It's a demo car. This side was water burnished. So alright, let's try this again. This is Tokenol burnish on this side. This is water burnished. You can't really see much of a difference in them. And I'm going to tell you the only reason that I will use Tokenol, well actually I use it quite often now, is because it's quicker. Quite a bit actually, quite a bit faster. I'll leave these sit, and if I leave them sit overnight and then come back and just buff them again, they shine right up and they look pretty good. But I think they look alright. You will find that the part in the middle here is always the hardest to get looking good. The Tokenol works really well there because it has that quality of pasting down stuff, so it works really well on those, at least that part. So these are done, but I thought I'd show you one more thing. Let me grab it and I'll be right back. So remember, these aren't top coated yet, so I'm going to show you leather balm, which is quick, it's easy, I love using it. The other thing I'm going to use is Resin. Resin has to have some time to dry, so there is that to consider with it. So let's do the straight pocket one. We'll use it's Fiebing's leather balm with atom wax. Outside of it, I just use scraps of old t-shirts to apply stuff like this. And it goes on kind of heavy. And we'll just set that aside for a minute. I'll use the Resin on the other one. I just want to give you a couple of different top coats that you can use. And the Resin will take a little bit longer to dry. So that's set up. It's got a really matte finish to it. Just a soft, this is some terry cloth kind of stuff. We'll just buff it. This is one of my favorite finishes to use. Don't use it nearly as often as I'd like. That's got a sheen to it. And that looks really sweet. So I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to go ahead and do the inside real quick. And that's all it takes for the leather balm. Just one application and you're pretty good to go. Now, it looks like my Vaseline is flattened out, which I don't like when it does that. It doesn't like to take a buff. I mean, it doesn't buff out like the Atom Balm does, or the leather balm. It buffs out some. But you can see the difference. So, but with the Vaseline, you can just have another application. I cut my Vaseline, so my Vaseline is half water. A, it stretches it out. B, it seems to apply a little better that way. Just set that aside again. The inside here is done. And there we go. You could apply another coat if you wanted to. I don't think it's going to change your results a whole lot. But I think this looks just great the way it is. It's got a really nice sheen to it, but without being super shiny. So, that's it for this one. This is the one we made together. Well, we kind of made both of them a little bit. I wanted to show you this too. This probably needs a quick sand, but this is what a painted edge looks like using Thieving's Edge Coat. It's a flexible finish, so it'll still bend without breaking. And that works out pretty well too. See if we can give this a quick buff. It really should sit a little longer, but now, Vaseline doesn't breathe like tan coat does. So oiling this isn't going to do anything because the oil is just going to come right off. If you've got something that needs a little outdoor use, I'd say stick to just a plain oil finish. Now, I've had cases where Vaseline just takes a few coats to get it on there decent, but that's where it's at right now. That's 2 coats. I'm going to stop there. We'll do the inside, and then I'll pack them up. But that came out pretty good. Alright, the second of the beginner projects are done. Did 2 of them. One with straight sprockets, one with scalloped. This one has Phoebing's Leather Balm with Atom Wax for a top coat. This one I used acrylic Resolene. Water burnished here. Token oil here. Tried to show what I could. I probably have to cut a whole bunch out because there usually winds up being a couple hours worth of video because it just takes that much to get it done. Anyway, not sure what the next project's going to be. Haven't made up my mind yet. Might be a bifold wallet. Ooh, that's getting a little more advanced. Could be a notebook. Notebook might be a nice thing to do. Other than that, that's what we got. Link to the pattern will be down in the description. Affiliate links to the products and tools and such that I use will be also down in the description. And with that, I thank you so much for watching. And stay safe. God bless. Like, comment, subscribe, all that happiness. If you got a comment, anything you want to see different, see something special, drop a comment. Later.